The brass nameplate outside read Moretti's in elegant script, same as it had for 42 years. 3 generations of our family had poured their hearts into that restaurant. The burgundy awning, the warm lighting through the windows, the smell of garlic and fresh basil that greeted customers before they even opened the door. It was supposed to be the thing that outlived me, the legacy I'd leave behind, my daughter's birthright, my grandchildren's future. I pulled into the back parking lot at 9:30 on a Tuesday night, much earlier than usual. My wife Elena had insisted I go to my cardiologist appointment that afternoon. Just a routine checkup, nothing serious, but at 64, you don't skip those anymore. The doctor had given me a clean bill of health and sent me home early with strict instructions to relax more. Fat chance of that when you run a restaurant. The kitchen entrance was still unlocked. Good. Marco, my night manager, was reliable about securing everything before he left at 11. I'd just grab the invoices I'd forgotten on my desk and head home to surprise Elena with an early night together for once. But as I approached my office at the back of the kitchen, I heard voices. My daughter Claire's voice, sharp and excited. And another voice, Christian Rousseau, the talented young chef I'd hired 6 months ago from New York. The one I'd been training to take over as head chef. The one Claire had insisted we needed. I should have called out. Should have made my presence known. But something in Claire's tone made me freeze just outside the slightly open office door. The location is perfect, Claire was saying. Right on Pine Street, same neighborhood, close enough to pull his customers, but far enough that we're not directly next door. And you're sure about the investors? That was Christian, his French accent more pronounced when he was anxious. They're in. 200,000 for 40%. They love the concept. A modern take on classic Italian, they said. They think Moretti's is, quote, stuck in the past with its old school menu. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. My heart, which the doctor had just declared perfectly healthy, was suddenly racing. What about the recipes? Christian asked. That's the whole point. Your father guards those like they're nuclear codes. Claire laughed. Actually laughed. I've been photographing them for 3 months. Every time he leaves his office, I go through his recipe book. The real one, not the one he keeps for the staff. I've got the ossobuco, the cioppino, even Grandma Rosa's Sunday gravy that he won't let anyone else make. The recipe book. My mother's handwritten recipes, passed down to me when she died. The secret blend of herbs in our signature dishes. The techniques that made Moretti's different from every other Italian restaurant in Portland. I kept that book in my office safe, or so I thought. I'd given Claire the combination 2 years ago when I started thinking about succession planning. The timing is crucial, Christian continued. We need to open before spring. That's your busy season. If we can poach enough of his key staff first, especially the experienced servers who know the regular customers. Already working on it? Claire interrupted. I've been talking to Sophia and Marcus. They're tired of the old man's temper tantrums anyway. Old man. My own daughter called me old man. What about your mother? Christian asked. She's there every day. She'll notice. Mom's so wrapped up in her charity work, she barely pays attention anymore. And honestly, I think she'll be relieved. She's been telling Dad for years to slow down, maybe sell. This way, at least it stays in the family. Sort of. And your brother? Won't he be a problem? There was a pause. Anthony won't say anything. He left the restaurant business years ago, opened that ridiculous craft brewery in Seattle. Dad was so disappointed. Anthony wants nothing to do with Moretti's. Wrong. Anthony had left because I'd been so focused on grooming Claire to take over that I'd made my son feel like he didn't belong. But he called me every week, asked about the restaurant. I'd been too proud to admit I'd made a mistake. So we're set, Christian pressed. May 15th, we give notice. June 1st, Rousseau and Moretti opens on Pine Street. 6 weeks to gut him. We're set. God, I can't wait to see his face when we tell him. All those years of him treating me like I'm still 12, questioning every decision I make, vetoing my menu ideas because they're not traditional enough. Well, guess what, Dad? The world moved on. Your precious Moretti's is dying, and you're too stubborn to see it. I'd heard enough. I backed away from the door carefully, my hands shaking, made it to the back exit without a sound, sat in my car for 20 minutes, trying to process what I'd just learned. My daughter was going to steal my life's work. Not just steal it, but sabotage the original in the process. And she'd been planning it for months, right under my nose, using the trust I'd placed in her. The drive home was a blur. Elena was already in bed, reading one of her mystery novels. She looked up when I came in, immediately concerned. "Everything okay? You look pale. Did the doctor find something?" "No, I'm fine. Just tired." I couldn't tell her. Not yet. Not until I figured out what to do. I didn't sleep that night. Lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through 42 years of memories. Teaching Claire to make pasta when she was 8 years old, her little hands covered in flour. Her high school graduation party, held at the restaurant with 300 guests. The day I'd made her general manager. How proud she'd looked. How proud I'd been. Where had I gone wrong? At 5 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and went to the restaurant early. Retrieved my mother's recipe book from the safe where I'd kept it all these years. Claire had been right about one thing. I'd been keeping the real recipes separate, only sharing simplified versions with the staff. These were the authentic versions, with all the secrets. The extra shot of brandy in the osso buco. The specific type of tomatoes for the gravy, ordered from a single farm in California. The overnight marinating technique for the ciopino. I photographed every page with my phone, then locked the book back in the safe. Then I did something I'd never done before. I installed a security camera in my office, hidden in the bookshelf behind my desk. If Claire was going to photograph my recipes, I wanted evidence. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a spy in my own restaurant. I started varying my schedule, coming in at unexpected times. Left my office unlocked deliberately. Watched the camera footage each night on my laptop at home. Claire came in 3 times. Each time, she went straight to the safe, pulled out the recipe book, and photographed pages with her phone. She was systematic about it, careful. On the 3rd visit, she brought Christian with her. They stood together, reading through my mother's handwriting, discussing which dishes would be worth stealing and which were too outdated. I saved every second of footage. But I needed more than just evidence of theft. I needed to understand the full scope of the plan. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Anthony. "Dad, it's 6 in the morning. Is everything okay?" "Son, I need your help. Can you come home for a few days?" There was a pause. "You never ask for help." "What's wrong?" I told him everything. Expected him to say, "I told you so." Expected anger about how I'd favored his sister for so long. Instead, he just said, "I'll be there tomorrow." "And Dad, I'm glad you finally called me." Anthony arrived the next afternoon, looking more mature than the last time I'd seen him. At 38, he'd built a successful business on his own terms. Maybe I'd been wrong about more than one thing. We sat in my office after hours, the restaurant finally quiet. "Show me what you've got," he said. I pulled up the camera footage on my laptop. We watched Claire and Christian together, their faces lit by the glow of my mother's recipes. "That's not just theft," Anthony said quietly. "If she's planning to use those exact recipes in a competing restaurant, that's misappropriation of trade secrets. Could be criminal, not just civil. You've been researching." I spent the whole drive down reading Oregon business law. He looked at me. "Dad, this is serious. She could destroy Moretti's, and legally we can stop her. But you need to decide how far you want to take this. She's your sister. She's betraying our family, our grandmother's legacy." His voice was hard. "You taught us that Moretti's was more than just a business. It was a trust. Grandma Rosa left those recipes to you with the understanding you'd protect them, pass them on to someone who'd honor them. Claire's not honoring anything. She's stealing." He was right. But she was still my daughter. "There's more," Anthony continued. "I did some digging on Christian Rousseau. You know why he left his last job in New York?" I shook my head. "He was fired from Marchand, that 3-star place in Manhattan. Stole recipes and tried to sell them to a competitor. The owner didn't press charges because of bad publicity, but Rousseau was blacklisted from every serious kitchen in New York. That's why he came to Portland. That's probably why Claire picked him. My daughter hadn't just planned to betray me. She'd recruited someone with a history of exactly this kind of theft." "What do you need me to do?" Anthony asked. Over the next week, We built our case. Anthony drove to the location on Pine Street they'd mentioned, found the for-lease sign with a pending sticker on it, tracked down the property management company, claimed to be interested in a neighboring space. The leasing agent cheerfully told him that yes, a wonderful new Italian restaurant was moving in, opening in June. Very exciting for the neighborhood. He photographed the application paperwork visible on the agent's desk, saw Claire's signature on the rental agreement, saw the business name Rousseau and Moretti. She was using our family name, using my name to compete against me. Anthony also reached out to Sophia and Marcus, the servers Claire had mentioned recruiting, took them for coffee separately, found out that yes, Claire had been promising them higher wages, better positions at the new place, but both of them seemed uncomfortable about it, guilty even. They don't want to leave, Anthony reported. They're just scared. Claire told them Moretti's was failing, that you were going to close down within a year anyway. They thought they were just securing their futures. So Claire had been lying to my staff too, spreading rumors about the restaurant's health to make her betrayal easier. The final piece came from Elena, of all people. I'd finally told her everything one night, unable to carry the weight alone anymore. She'd cried. Then she'd gotten angry. Then she'd gotten strategic. Claire's been using the restaurant's accounts to pay for things, Elena said, showing me the business credit card statements she'd pulled. Look, contractor consultations, design fees, even payments to a commercial real estate lawyer. She's been funding her competition, using Moretti's money, embezzlement on top of everything else. When? Elena asked. When do we confront her? Sunday dinner, I said. This Sunday, at the house. Our family dinners had been sacred for decades. Every Sunday at 6, unless something catastrophic prevented it. Claire, Anthony when he was in town, Elena and me, around our dining room table, the same one my parents had used. Claire wouldn't expect anything. Sunday dinner was safe, neutral ground. Anthony flew back up on Sunday morning, brought his laptop with all our documentation. Elena made her lasagna, the one that had been Claire's favorite since childhood. We set the table, like always. Opened the good wine. Claire arrived at 5:55, exactly on time, like she'd been her whole life. She looked happy, relaxed, hugged Elena, kissed my cheek, seemed surprised and pleased to see Anthony. When did you get in? She asked him. A few days ago. Dad needed some help with something. We made small talk through the first course. Discussed Claire's latest menu suggestions for the restaurant, most of which I now understood were designed to make Moretti's look worse by comparison. Listened to her complain about supplier issues, staff problems, the usual restaurant frustrations. She was a good actress. I'd give her that. After dinner, Elena cleared the plates and brought out coffee. That's when I said, Claire, there's something we need to discuss. She looked up, still unsuspecting. Sure, what's up? Anthony opened his laptop and turned it to face her. Pressed play on the security camera footage. Claire's face on the screen. Opening my safe. Pulling out the recipe book. Photographing page after page. The color drained from her face. Dad, I can explain. Let me guess, I interrupted. You were just preserving the recipes? Making sure we had digital backups? Interesting theory, except you sent every single photo to Christian Rousseau's email. We have those records too. Anthony clicked to the next file. The rental agreement for the Pine Street location. The business name with our family's name attached. You were going to compete against your own family, Elena said quietly. Using your grandmother's recipes. Using our name. It's not like that, Claire started. Then what is it like? I asked. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like theft, trade secret misappropriation, embezzlement, since you used company funds to plan your competing business, and fraud, since you lied to our staff about the restaurant's financial health. Claire's expression shifted. The guilt flickered and died, replaced by defiance. You never would have agreed to modernize. You're stuck in the past. Moretti's is dying, and you can't see it because you're too proud. Moretti's isn't dying, Anthony interrupted. I pulled the financials. You're one of the most profitable independent restaurants in Portland. Profit margin of 18%. Most restaurants run at 5 to 8. Reservations are booked 3 weeks out. You have a waiting list. That's not the point. Then what is the point? I demanded. Because it looks like you just wanted to cash in. Take the easy route. Steal 40 years of work instead of earning your own. Claire stood up abruptly. I have earned it. I've been working at that restaurant since I was 16 years old. I've given up everything for Moretti's. My 20s, my social life, relationships. No one forced you, Elena said. You chose the restaurant. You begged your father to make you general manager. Because I thought it would be mine someday. But he never actually planned to hand it over, did he? Just keeps dangling it like a carrot. Always one more test. One more year of learning the business. I'm 42 years old, and I'm still waiting for permission to make decisions. The truth in her words stung, but it didn't justify what she'd done. So your solution was theft? I asked. Betrayal? Destroying the family business rather than having a conversation? I tried having conversations. You dismissed every idea I had, called them trendy, not authentic. Said I didn't understand the Moretti tradition. Her voice cracked. I do understand it, Dad. I understand it better than you think. And I understand that tradition without evolution is just stubbornness. Then you should have left honestly, Anthony said. Started your own place with your own recipes. Built something from scratch. Instead, you stole. And you recruited someone with a history of this exact same crime to help you do it. Claire looked at Christian's name on the rental agreement. You investigated him? Due diligence, Anthony replied. Something you apparently didn't do. Christian Rousseau was fired from Marchand in New York for stealing recipes. You brought him into our restaurant, gave him access to our secrets, led him straight to the recipe book. She sat back down slowly. What are you going to do? I'd been thinking about this question for 2 weeks. My daughter. My legacy. The choice between justice and family. We're giving you 2 options, I said. Option 1. We press charges. All of them. Civil suits for theft of trade secrets, breach of fiduciary duty, embezzlement. Criminal charges for fraud. We sue Christian Rousseau separately. We make sure every restaurant owner in the Pacific Northwest knows exactly what you did. You'll never work in this industry again. Claire's eyes filled with tears. And option 2? You resign from Moretti's today. You abandon the Pine Street location and any plans to use our recipes or our name. You pay back every dollar you spent from the business accounts. You sign a non-compete agreement that prevents you from opening any Italian restaurant within 50 miles of Portland for 5 years. And you give a full confession in writing that will hold in case you ever violate these terms. That's not an option. That's a prison sentence. No, Elena said sharply. Prison is option 1. This is mercy. More than you showed your father. What about Christian? Claire asked. Christian is fired immediately. We're pursuing legal action against him regardless of what you choose. He doesn't get the option of mercy. Claire looked between the 3 of us. Her mother's disappointed face, her brother's anger, my own heartbreak, which I knew must be showing despite my attempts to remain firm. If I take option 2, she said slowly, what happens to me? I can't stay in Portland. I can't work in restaurants. What am I supposed to do? That's not our problem, Anthony said coldly. You made your choices, but I couldn't let it end that cruelly. Not completely. Your mother has a cousin in Arizona, I said. Runs a catering business in Phoenix. She might be willing to take you on. Not Italian food. Different market. Different name. A chance to start over, if you prove you can be trusted. It was more than Claire deserved. More than I should have offered. But she was still my daughter, and some part of me still hoped she could learn from this. Claire was silent for a long moment. Then she nodded. I'll take option 2. Say it clearly, Elena demanded, so we all hear it. I'll resign from Moretti's. I'll abandon the competing restaurant. I'll sign the non-compete. I'll pay back the money. Her voice broke. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. No, I said. You're sorry you got caught. If we hadn't discovered this, you'd have opened Rousseau and Moretti in June and smiled while Moretti's failed. She didn't deny it. Anthony had already prepared the documents. We'd hoped it wouldn't come to this, but we'd been ready. Claire signed everything with shaking hands. The resignation letter, the financial repayment plan, the non-compete agreement, the confession detailing everything she'd planned. When she was done, she stood up, looked at me with red eyes. I really did love the restaurant once, when I was little, before it became this weight around my neck. Then you should have told me, I said quietly. That's what family does. She left without hugging anyone, drove away from the house that night, and, as far as I know, hasn't come back. Christian Rousseau was easier. We fired him the next morning, showed him the evidence, told him we were pressing charges regardless. His lawyer eventually negotiated a settlement. He paid damages, signed an ironclad non-compete, and left Oregon within 30 days. Last I heard, he was working at a hotel restaurant in Florida, far from any opportunity to steal recipes from family-owned establishments. Sophia and Marcus stayed. Once they understood that Claire had been lying about the restaurant's health, they were relieved, angry at themselves for almost believing her, but relieved. The hardest part was the next few months, working in the restaurant every day, seeing the empty space where Claire should have been. Elena stopped humming while she did the books. The Sunday dinners became just the three of us. Anthony started coming down from Seattle more often, staying for long weekends, relearning the business he'd walked away from. One night, about 3 months after everything fell apart, Anthony and I were closing up together. He'd been experimenting with the menu, adding some of his brewery's craft beer philosophy to our traditional dishes. A beer-braised short rib that actually worked. A Saison steamed mussels dish that customers loved. I've been thinking, he said, wiping down the bar. What if I moved back? Not to take over, but to partner with you. Merge what you built with some new ideas. Keep Moretti's traditional where it matters. Evolve where it makes sense. I looked at my son, really looked at him. Saw the man I'd failed to notice while I was so focused on grooming Claire. I'd like that, I said. I'd like that a lot. And maybe, in a few years, when you're actually ready to retire, we make it official. Moretti and Son. What do you think? Moretti and Son. Not quite the legacy I'd imagined. But maybe it was the one I'd needed all along. I thought about my mother, about the day she'd handed me her recipe book with its creased pages and stained covers. She'd said, "These recipes are just food until you put love into them. Remember that." Claire had forgotten the love part, saw only the value of the recipes themselves, the shortcuts they could provide. But Anthony understood. As we worked together that night, I watched him handle the prep with the same care I'd tried to instill in both my children. The difference was, he'd chosen to come back, chosen the restaurant, not because he felt obligated, but because he finally understood what it meant. It's been 2 years now. Moretti's is thriving. Anthony and I completely redesigned the space together, modernized the kitchen, updated the menu while keeping Grandma Rosa's signature dishes. We hired a new head chef, a woman from Boston who respects tradition but isn't afraid to experiment. Elena is happy. The tension that had been building for years, the weight of watching me pin all my hopes on the wrong child, has lifted. I don't know where Claire is. Elena told me she's in Phoenix, working for the cousin. Apparently doing well, though we don't talk about it much. She sent a Christmas card last year. No return address, just thinking of you signed at the bottom. Part of me wants to forgive her. The father part that still sees her as the 8-year-old with flour on her hands. But another part, the part that built Moretti's from nothing, that honored my mother's trust, can't forget what she was willing to destroy. Maybe someday we'll rebuild something. Maybe not. The recipe book is still in my safe. But now Anthony has the combination too, and I've made it clear. When I'm gone, those recipes belong to him, to pass on to someone who will protect them, honor them, and yes, evolve them when the time is right. Because Claire was partially right about one thing. Tradition without evolution is just stubbornness. But evolution without respect for what came before is just destruction, wearing a progressive mask. The brass nameplate outside still reads Moretti's. 44 years now. 3 generations. Soon to be 4, when Anthony's daughter is old enough to roll pasta dough. It's not the legacy I planned, but it's the one I've earned. And somehow, that makes it worth even more.